Allthemodium 9 is one of the funnest mod packs that I've probably ever played in my life. The only problem is it sometimes can be a little difficult figuring out how to go about upgrading to the next tier of material or the next tier of tool or armor. So in this video, I'm going to give you just a quick rundown how to get Allthemodium, Vibranium, and Unobtainium, and some tips and tricks for how to do that the most efficient way possible. Now, like it mentions in the game, Allthemodium is the lowest tier of the top 3 ores that are added by all the mods, and it is found in deep dark biomes on cave walls and ceilings. And basically all that means is that you have to find the deep dark in order to find Allthemodium. Now, what it doesn't really mention here is that in order to mine Allthemodium, you have to have a netherite pick. Now, there are a few ways to get netherite easier, and one of those is just to loot different buildings in the world. These ships tend to have a lot of netherite, a lot of the taller buildings. There's also a lot of buildings that are put in place that have tall spires. The higher levels on those tend to have higher tier loot. So I would start with checking out some of the buildings and stuff that they put in place. The second thing is you can always go about it the normal way, going to the nether and mining some netherite from there. Now, once you have a pick that can actually mine the Allthemodium ore, you next have to find it, which we know is in the deep dark, but sometimes that can be a little bit difficult to find. Across the board, the deep dark spawns the most in meadows. So there's a couple different things you can do. You can either run around and find a meadow, option number 1. Number 2, you can make what's called a nature's compass. And the nature compass is really cool because you can just right click it and then choose what biome you're looking for. So in this case, we would search for, there it is. So you just search for meadow up in the select biome, search by name, and then you can find a meadow, double click on it, and then in game, right click, and it will direct you in the direction of the closest meadow. Now, while this is a good option, it's also not the best option. The best option is to, while looting, and while you're down in caves and looking through loot chests, to find one of these, which is called an ancient compass, which will automatically point you in the same direction as the closest ancient city. Now, as I suspected, they look to be pointing the exact same direction, so we're going to head to this meadow and I'll show you what to do from there. All right, so here we have it. We found ourselves a meadow, and if I were to dig down straight right here, I would probably find some skulk from the ancient city. However, if you have the ancient city compass, it's a little bit more precise. Rather than just going to find a meadow and then looking around underground, it'll tell you exactly where the ancient city is located. So in this case, we know it's, within 100 blocks from the meadow itself, but it's a little bit off. So we'll find a cave, we'll jump down in it, and go find our ancient city. Bingo, just like that, you'll find the deep dark. Now, like all the mods mentions, it's on the walls and ceilings of the deep dark, and you might also see some gold, and gold looks very similar to Allthemodium, so the only way to really know the difference is that gold tends to be a little bit darker, whereas Allthemodium tends to glow a little bit more. Let's find some Allthemodium and I'll show you what I mean. So this is what the Allthemodium looks like when it's actually like in the wall in the ancient city. It looks a little bit more glowy and actually puts off light. So 2 things, remember to mine this with a netherite or above pickaxe. And second of all, when you get the Allthemodium ore, don't just mine it straight away. What you can actually do is take what's called a hammer, and you can crush the Allthemodium ore and then turn it into Allthemodium dust and make more Allthemodium ingots out of it. Now, in order to crush it, it's really easy. All you have to do is go into a crafting table, you put the raw Allthemodium ore in there, you put your hammer in there, and then it literally doubles the amount of ingots that you can make. Highly recommend doing that, especially at the beginning. And then also, when you get Allthemodium for the first time, I recommend making 2 things. Number 1, make the mining dimension teleport pad. Huge game changer as far as getting ores. And second of all, dedicate at least 1 ingot towards making this, which is an Allthemodium sight charm. You might not think you need it right away, but especially once you get into the mining dimension, you can use this to get an insane amount of Allthemodium very quickly. Just to give you a quick idea of what it does, we're still in the same deep dark, but I used the Allthemodium sight charm and I can now see the more Allthemodium that's just hanging out on the walls as I fly around. So it's a really big game changer as far as getting these ores quickly, and I would highly recommend you making that pretty early on. Now, while you're in the deep dark, the other thing that you're going to want to get is the Allthemodium upgrade template. This way you can upgrade your netherite armor to Allthemodium. It's not very difficult to get as long as you know what you're looking for, but it took me a very long time to figure out exactly what I was looking for the first time. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look for the path leading up to the center of the ancient city that looks like this. And then the second thing you're going to want to look for is a piece of clay. Before coming here, you're also going to want to make sure that you have a brush so that you can brush the clay. And the clay looks exactly like this. It's called suspicious clay. And all you have to do, please don't make my mistake, don't break the block. Take the brush and right click. Don't left click. So again, you're looking at the clay, right click it, it'll brush it away, and it has a chance of giving you this Allthemodium upgrade template, which looks exactly like this. All right, we're done with Allthemodium. Now let's talk about Vibranium. Now you're gonna find Vibranium in the Nether, and it can be a little tricky to find unless you have light. So I would highly recommend getting some sort of light prior to attempting this. Oh my goodness. So spawned into the Nether. This is literally my Nether portal. There's Vibranium right here. Now you're going to find Vibranium all over the Nether, and I think there are a couple different biomes it's more prevalent in. But the important thing is that it's usually on the underside of a cliff, and so it's very hard to mine unless you can fly. It's also very hard to find unless you can fly. So similar as before, this is what it looks like. It's usually on the underside of some cliffs. For the first couple ones, make a sight potion, and then also remember that you have to now have Allthemodium in order to mine the Vibranium ore. Now the second part of this is how to find the Vibranium smithing template to allow you to upgrade from Allthemodium to Vibranium. Now that is actually found in Bastion Remnants inside of the Nether, and unfortunately it's not the normal Bastion Remnants, and so you can't use the structure compass to find them. Let me find one of the correct Bastion templates and I'll be right back. So you'll come across a lot of different Bastion Remnants, especially the ones that the structure compass leads to look like this. These are the small ones, and they don't actually have what you need to find the Vibranium smithing template. So after a painful long time, we finally found it. If you look on the map, I'll zoom in a little bit for you. You can see exactly what this looks like. So that way you can differentiate it between the normal Bastion Remnants and the one you're actually looking for. But once you're here, it's actually really easy. Usually either on this bottom, I don't know what you want to call it, it's hardly a pathway, but usually either on the bottom pathway or around the bottom, there will be a piece of soul sand that looks something like that. So what we're going to do, we're going to put something underneath it to catch the smithing template just in case it falls. Again, don't break it, right click, use the brush on it, and it should pop out your Vibranium smithing template. It'll look just like that. All right, so that's everything you need to know about Vibranium. The last and final step is Unobtainium, and you find this by going to the end. So we're going to go to the end real fast, and I'll show you what it'll look. All right, we found the ancient city. This really isn't necessarily a tutorial on how to get to the end, only to the extent that we need Unobtainium. However, if you look at my map right now, you can tell exactly where the ender portal is, purely based off of the lava that's there. So we know we had this direction about the same height as whatever I'm at right now. We will most likely end up exactly where we need to be, and sure enough, pop out exactly where you want to. All right, now at this point you can fight the ender dragon or not. It doesn't really matter. What you're looking for is not on the main island though. So you're going to want to fly out into the void, and you're looking for a pink ore that looks kind of like amethyst mixed in with endstone, but it also glows just like the rest of the Allthemodium ores do. So in the end highlands, you can see that's the biome we're in right now. What you can do, especially at the beginning, is just ulti-mine straight down, and you're likely to find some kind of spread out everywhere. So this is what Unobtainium looks like. Again, I believe you have to have the next tier pick in order to mine it, so you'd have to have a Vibranium pick in order to mine this. And I would recommend using the first couple to make a sight charm so that you can come back and get a whole bunch more. All right, so that's how to find the ore. The next step is actually using that ore to upgrade your armor and weapons. And in order to do that, you're going to have an Unobtainium smithing template to allow you to upgrade to the next tier. In order to find that, you have to go to a biome that's called the Other. This teleport pad is what I recommended you make with your first couple pieces of Allthemodium. Basically, it allows you to teleport into the mining dimension if you come from the overworld. However, if you go from the Nether, it transports you into an entirely different dimension called the Other. Now, this is the Other. It's very dark and very hard to see, and it's probably going to spawn you underground. I would highly recommend bringing a structure compass with you, because what you're going to be looking for is all the mods. So you're looking for this Allthemodium dungeon. We're going to select that, right click, it'll find it, and then we're going to fly to it, and I'll show you what to do from there. All right, 3,000 block. Also, while I'm flying there, don't forget the rules that I gave you on the first couple. Make sure with the Unobtainium ore that you also hit it with a hammer, because that doubles it, and you get twice as much product for the work that you're putting in. All right, this right here is what you're looking for. This is the Allthemodium dungeon. It's in the Other biome, and there are more mobs in this set of buildings than I have ever seen in any other set of buildings before. What you're going to want to do is to come into one of these, which I think is in the middle. You want to go to the middle, and basically you just want to dig straight down. There's a set of ladders here, but you want to go down until you get to the first level that actually has different lines, paths going out to the side like this. And you want to start looking for chests, any loot chests that you can possibly find. And in some of these, you will find, I mean, there's going to be all kinds of stuff that you find in here. The loot in this building is insane, but it's also incredibly easy to die. But these are the chests that are going to have the Unobtainium smithing template in them. So I'm going to run around and open these chests until I find a smithing template so that I can show you that they're actually here. And I'll see you guys in just a second. All right, and there it is, the Unobtainium smithing template in one of the chests inside of the other. This is exactly what you're going to look for. Take that, put it in your inventory. You really only need one of these because you can duplicate them and craft them using the materials that you would use to craft them once you have one of them. So again, try to get one of them and then /home or /spawn or back or whatever your server or you use. There you go. That's everything you need to know to use and obtain Allthemodium, Unobtainium, and Vibranium for all the mods 9. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys next time.